used to this.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you very much. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's a pleasure having you here. Thank you very much for joining in and accepting to be on our Instagram live session. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Before we go to you this morning, Tony, I would like to address everyone that is currently joining us. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. You're welcome to Betty Box's Instagram live session. I'm sure some of you joined us the last time we had an Instagram live session where we interviewed Michelle, the founder of Dementia UK. Today, we have another important guest in our midst in person of Tony. Tony is also a caregiver, and we're going to be having like a caregivers chat this morning. It promises to be a very, very interesting one because we have some questions that has been on the mind of people, and we are going to be asking the expert, Tony, to answer them for us this morning. A little background about BeddyBox. BeddyBox is a mobile application designed to be a memory companion. BeddyBox was designed to help people with memory loss live an easy life. So if you have an Android phone, BeddyBox is available on Google Play for you to download. We have so many unique features, and some of them are AI powered memory bank, caregivers collaboration and dashboard, and also a virtual community. So thank you once again, everyone, for joining in. Now I'll be moving on to Tony. So Tony, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yes, so my name is Tony Colins-Moore, and I am the Health and Wellbeing Manager for the Care Centre in Tower Hamlets. I've been in health and social care for over 40 years, but I've worked at the centre for 13. And I'm now, well, for the last 5 years, I've been a carer myself. I care for my mum and my dad. Unfortunately, my dad passed away last year, but my mum is
So
still with
sorry
us,
about
and
that.
she has dementia. My mum has a dementia, so I am a carer for someone with dementia. But she lives in a nursing home, so I manage quite a lot of things.
Well,
Yes, so
that's great, and I'm so sorry about the loss of your dad.
thank you.
So a little background. Can you tell us the story behind being a carer?
Yeah, so it's interesting for me because I worked at the carer centre. So I wasn't a carer when I first went to work at the carer centre,
Oh,
um,
wow.
and then and then 5 years ago I became a carer because my parents became elderly and started to become frail. Mum had a series of strokes, hence her onset of dementia. Dad had heart failure, so he was I just basically started very small, like most carers do, doing little tasks, popping in, checking on them, and then as they got older and their conditions progressed, more and more. I did more and more caring tasks, but for me, it's very interesting the difference between being a professional working in carer services and being, and then actually being a carer in real life. Do you know what I mean? So um, I thought that all my training and my professionalism would prepare me for being a carer, but it doesn't always fit that way. So it's an awakening when you become a carer. Yeah. The reality of it is different to the professional theory, if you see what I mean. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So you said you've been working at the carer center for about 5 years now,
I
and I'm
was
so sure that
13 years. I've been a carer for 5 years and then working at the centre for 13 years. Yeah.
oh, I'm so sorry.
That's right.
So, so I believe that you must have had different experiences with different carers. I would like you to share some challenges that carers face and how you help them address these challenges.
Okay. So let's start with carers having a life alongside their caring role, which is quite an important thing. So it's very apparent, and I've just written it in the blog that's going to be on the website at the Carer Centre very shortly. You know, I work as well as a carer, and then I try and fit in a bit of my own life, in between all of that, which is very difficult. So the issue that I think a lot of carers have is time to pursue something that they might do, a bit of respite, mental respite, physical respite from the caring role. I think that is a big issue for carers, and access to respite. And when I say respite, I mean their respite. So I'm always talking from a care perspective. We can organise, you can organise via your local authority respite for the person that you care for. But I don't know how a lot of carers know that carers themselves are entitled to respite. And that's a statutory right under the Care Act 2014. So that's a really important thing. And so when you are dealing with your local authority, and you should always insist on a statutory carer's needs assessment. So it's an assessment of your needs as a carer. And that could be, I need this for my loved one so that I can continue with my caring role, or I need this for myself, for my own peace of mind and well-being. So that's a very important thing, respite and time to yourself. And also navigating local authorities and navigating the Care Act and navigating care for your loved one. That's a tricky thing. And if you don't know it, I would always encourage carers to register with their local carer service so that they can get the support they need to be able to navigate the minefield of statutory services. And the other thing I would say is, very most importantly, and this is from my perspective as a manager, is I think that looking after your own health and well-being is really important, so that you if you look after yourself, I think it gives you the energy and the ability to look after others. And I think we need to look after ourselves. It's important. I think it's important to practice self-care where you can. So yes, so they're a few of the things that I think are quite important. But the carer's needs assessment is crucial for carers, and you could ask for respite within that carer's needs assessment.
Okay, thank you very much for that answer. So you said something about carers looking out for themselves. I've had, I wouldn't say like an experience, but in some carers group that I'm on, carers keep saying, how do I take care of myself? How do I look after my mental being without ignoring my loved ones with dementia, Alzheimer's, memory loss? So can you give like a solution to that without the carers having to feel guilty for taking care of themselves?
I mean, I think it's a tricky one. Don't get me wrong. It's easier said than done. But what I do think is that you can't go on forever as a carer. You can't do 24/7. You will burn out and you'll get exhausted. So to go back to what I was talking about before, is carers should go to their local authority and insist on a statutory carers needs assessment. And in that carers needs assessment, you can talk about your needs. So you can talk about how you might need a couple of hours a week to be able to go off and do something for yourself. And I don't mean go off and just do shopping or banking, because these are all carers' tasks anyway. So that's not respite. So I mean, maybe catch up with a friend for coffee, go swimming, go to the library, read a book. One of the things that I'm very much involved in is that I am the carers learning mentor for the Open University. So it might be that you want to pursue an online learning course. So one of the things that I would say is very important is, you might want to go to your carer service and attend a peer support group and meet other carers similar, similar to you, looking after somebody with dementia, that kind of thing, or memory loss. There are lots of peer support groups. There's lots of peer support. There's lots of activities that you might attend that are run by Alzheimer's, and that's for the carer, not just the person to care for. So what I would always say is that you are entitled to time off. And when I say that, when you go for your carers needs assessment, you could say to them, I need somebody to come in and cover and look after my loved one for 2 hours a week while I go out and have some time for myself. And you're entitled to that. Okay, that's a statutory need. Okay, so and you will, sometimes it's easy, and your local authority be able to provide that very quickly. Sometimes you might have to negotiate that and do a little bit of negotiating and give or take. But my advice to any carer is, if you are in need of respite, then you ask for a carer's needs assessment. Okay, and that carer's needs assessment is across England. So it doesn't matter where you live or where you are. Every local authority, every county council, they all have to undertake that if you request one. But you should have one anyway, even as a carer. It's good for you, and it's your backup and your legal it's your legal right.
Okay, thank you very much. So I would like to ask, are there financial options available for carers? And if yes, can you give us an explanation about them?
I suppose, well, there are financial options available to carers. So, for instance, you could, when you're having your carers needs assessment, I'll always go back to this because this is it's a great source to start your starting point. And there's a thing that you can have, which is encouraged by quite a lot of local authorities, which is a direct payment. So you might say that you think it's better, if you're having a care package for your loved one, instead of the local authority providing a care agency, and we know sometimes they're in and out, and they might not provide the care that you think your loved one requires, you might ask for a direct payment. And a direct payment means that you do become like a manager, but you can also have an option of having a third party that can run it and manage it. But basically, a direct payment means you receive money from the local authority where you employ the worker. You employ the workers for your loved one, and you can employ them, and you can teach them how you want them to look after your loved one. Do you see what I mean? And it works out in a way that you might be able to pay them a slightly higher rate than they would be used to at a care agency, because there's no commission that's being taken for the care agency. And you might get a better choice of worker, and you might get one that's much more nuanced and that can really understand and long term. So it's not a different person coming in each day. It might be the same person, and from a person with dementia, familiarity and regularity is quite a good thing, I think. So there's that option. Sometimes there's grants available. I know at the carer centre, if you might be able to request a washing machine or a fridge if you've got store medication. So there are lots of bits about, but what I would also say is check with your local authority, but you can request that. Do you know what I mean? DWP also do. I'm not an expert on DWP and benefits and what's available, I have to admit. I would signpost to my colleague who I work with at the Carer Centre, Abdul. He's the expert. Yeah, so there are lots of things out there, but you can. I would always have a chat with your social workers, have a chat with your local carer service to find out what's available to you in your local area.
Okay, thank you very much. So this question might be a little personal. Um, Generally, do you think carers are being treated the way they should be treated?
I think it all depends where you are. So
Okay.
I will honestly say, wholeheartedly, that within Tower Hamlets, where I work, I used to live there for 30 years. I don't live there now, but I travel up and when I work there. But I would say that, you know, Tower Hamlets, the council, the local authority, they fund a lot of carer services, and so I think that Tower Hamlets are way ahead of other local authorities in the way that they promote and finance carer services. I I I am biased, but I will say that the Carer Centre Tower Hamlets is an excellent service, and that what we do is amazing. And I think we are seen as a centre of excellence, and we do provide quite a comprehensive service to carers. But what I would say is, and I would get carers to check out things like Carers UK, the national body. They they are a campaigning group, so they're looking at and they're promoting and they're developing things like carers' rights. They do a lot around carers' rights on a national level. And so I know that they're very involved at the moment about introducing, when you're employed, that you can have carers leave. Do you know what I mean? It's normally unpaid, but you are entitled to get some leave if you need it for your caring role. And I know that they are now campaigning to get paid carers leave, which is on the horizon, but fingers crossed we will get there. So there are lots of, but what I do think is that I think that carers don't get paid enough. I don't think the carers allowance really reflects what carers do. If nobody would go for a job that paid that a week. Do you know what I mean? No, nobody would go for a 35-hour job that pays. I think it's less than £100 a week now. So nobody in their right mind would do that. I think that for a very long time that the country and the governments, and I'm not getting political, I think they should value carers more, because I do know, and I can give you some quotes about this, for instance, that the unpaid carers save the country about £165 million a year. 165 billion pounds a year. And hence why in some circles, unpaid carers are known as the second NHS, and they are. Do you know what I mean? So, I think there's a long way to go around having better recognition of carers within society. But, most people would know somebody that's a carer, in their lives, mum looking after dad, or your mum looking after your grandma, or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Somebody's always looking out for some family member or a friend. We're everywhere.
Yes. So we understand how the world has evolved digitally, and many people are online searching for one thing or the other. So if you don't mind, are there resources that are online available for carers that you can point out? Maybe joining Facebook groups, those kind of resources that could help carers in aid their caregiving journey.
Yeah. So going back to Carers UK, they have online groups. I would always tell you to check them out. Check out you can go to the Carers Trust and they will direct you to your local services. And some carers services have online facilities. There is an organisation called Mobilise, which has online chat rooms and online forums and things like that. There is another organisation called Carers Card UK, which has online forums around health and wellbeing and support. For instance, and the Carer Centre Tower Hamlets, our website is more interactive and there's directions. It's not so much on Facebook, but I do know that lots of carer services encourage social network. You know what I mean? So I know from my work at the Carer Centre that this all came out of COVID, that carers develop WhatsApp groups and they talk to each other, they support each other that way. But you can get most things or on Carers UK and Carers Trust websites, you know what I mean? But I would also encourage you to check out what's available on your local carer services. Some carer services are not necessarily a physical centre, so there might be more online. So yes, I would definitely check them out. But the people are improving on that, because as we move into, as we move digitally into a digital age, things are going to have to change. So we have to meet different markets for different people, and especially young adult carers. They like WhatsApp more. We don't send emails to young adult carers. It's WhatsApp messages. They prefer that. They'll respond. You know what I mean? It's about knowing your market and knowing who you're working with. So yes.
Okay, thank you very much for that answer. We're going to definitely check out every organizations that you have mentioned online. So,
Definitely.
I'd like us to talk about you for a bit, because you have a wealth of experience that I believe a lot of carers need to learn a thing or two from. So, would you like to summarize your caregiving journey for us? Your lessons, what you would have done differently if you were to start your caregiving journey now,
Right.
and what you have learned so far being a carer?
Okay. So the most important thing that I've learned, and I put into place, and I would encourage all carers to do that if they can, is getting lasting power of attorney for your loved one. So lasting power of attorney is a legal document. It's a bit lengthy and it takes a while, but it's a legal document that means that when your loved one loses capacity, you can legally support them both health-wise and financial-wise. So I did this for Mum and managed to get it all done before she has lost capacity now. So it means that I can do her banking. I can organize her care charges and pay for her care charges and pay for things and do all the things and it meant that I could legally, I was entrusted to sell my mum's house, because this is something to be mindful of. When my dad died, who was living at my parents' house, the local authority where my mum lives contacted me and said, "Oh, that house now is an asset. So your mum is seen as having above the threshold assets. So we're now charging her the full whack at the nursing home. So over £1,000 a week." So yes, so just be mindful of that. So finance is a really complex minefield when you're dealing with other people's finances. So I would definitely encourage any carer to apply and complete the applications for lasting power of attorney, which you can buy. You can download the forms from DirectGov. So just look for lasting power of attorney, DirectGov. You can download the forms. Now, I will caution people, it is a complex form and you take the time, you do need to get the GP to sign off to say that your loved one still has capacity, and you have to do it before they lose capacity, as you can't do it. And then there's the health side. So nobody can do anything with your loved one at the hospital or a nursing home or adult social care without your say-so, because you are their legal attorney, as it were. So as well as, you know, financial control, you control it. So I would honestly, and it's a game changer, because when your loved one loses capacity and you're dealing with lots of different things, you can manage it, and they can't do anything legally. They legally have to come to you as the attorney. So it gives you a sense of control, and I think it gives your loved one a layer of protection that you can afford your family member. And you know what I mean? And I think it's peace of mind, and my peace of mind. I had great peace of mind having that. And I think that I know that nothing can happen to my mum without my say-so. Do you know what I mean? From either health professionals or banks or anything like that. But don't get me wrong, when I did the last power of attorney, my mum's bank, they couldn't be more fantastic, supporting me, setting it all up, making sure it all went smoothly. They were brilliant. So it's not an obstacle, it's a plus. It's a real positive thing to do. So yeah, that is my one thing that I learned, that I would, and I mention it all the time to carers at the centre when I interact with them. Get lasting power of attorney. And the other thing that I would always say is, make sure when at your GP that you are registered as the carer. You are a carer. It just means that that you're entitled to the flu jab and things like that. You get things that and that is to reduce the risk of infection for your loved one, because they're most vulnerable. They might be elderly, they might be frail. You have the flu jab. I have it anyway because I'm asthmatic, but it just means that you don't have to worry about things. And and if you do get stressed, or you might need some talking therapy, they know you're a carer, and so they can take that into account. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that amazing answer. So I'm sure there are days that you have been burnt out as a caregiver, days where you've probably felt tired. How were you able to navigate those emotions, feelings? How were you able to get out of them?
So it is. I'm just, funnily enough, my blog today is about how caring can be exhausting, and it is exhausting. Do you know what I mean? You're juggling. A lot of carers I speak to are saying that they're spinning plates all the time. You know what I mean? And that might be relatable to other carers. So I think it's a good idea if you're tired and things like that. So we go back to what we've talked about before, which is looking for something that you can do for yourself that is good for your emotional well-being. And because I find that being a carer, and I find with lots of carers I know, that it is an isolating experience. You know what I mean? You might leave work, you might have to leave work, you might not have the social network you used to have with your friends and colleagues and things like that. So you need to think about what you do for yourself to be able to maintain good emotional, mental well-being. And that might be exercise, that might be walking, that might be connecting with other people, friends, family, telephone calls. Hi, how you doing? You know what I mean? It's important to and this goes back, if you're finding it difficult to do that because you're worried about leaving your loved one, or you can't leave your loved one, then go back to what I was saying before, which is get your carer's needs assessment. Say, I need somebody to cover and look after my loved one while I pursue something for my, and you can say this in your carers needs assessment, I need this to be able to maintain good well-being, and it's a good language to use when you're having your carers needs assessment. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. So we have a question from one of our audience currently watching us. She said that she asked, how about some banks not recognizing the power of attorney? Banks like HSBC and Santander. She said she has tried using the power of attorney with those banks, but they're not recognizing them. So in that case, what do you advise she does?
Oh, right. So what you do is they should be recognizing that. So basically, when you've completed the lasting power of attorney, it goes to central government. It's a record. There's a department in central government that manages lasting power of attorney. So when I did mine, when I rang up my mum's bank and went through it like that, they said, what is the you get like a number for your lasting power of attorney. So you have to give that. Then they put that in, and then they will see that that is a genuine lasting power of attorney. And then they go through the process. So if they're not doing that, I would definitely, you could contact the lasting power of attorney people. I don't know the number. You'd have to go onto Google or something like that and look for the number to say that you're experiencing difficulties or the bank is blocking you in that because they can't do it. Do you know what I mean? That's not. They were going against that legal document. Do you know what I mean? So do that, and then I would also pursue the bank's complaints procedure. Do you know what I mean? And you might want to. It's a difficult one because what I do say to people, a lot of people sometimes go to like solicitors to get the lasting power of attorney because it is quite a long, tedious thing to do. So some people go to a solicitor to get for them to do it, but you can get charged a fortune. Okay, so be mindful that if you're going down that route, you could get charged that £1,000, maybe more pounds. But if you're able, you can just download the forms and do it yourself. And there are certain benefits that if your loved one is on, like pension credit and everything, it's free. But if you're doing it normally and you're not on those benefits, then it's £88 for health and £88 for finance. So it's 160. So it's a lot cheaper than spending thousands of pounds at solicitors. But you've got to weigh up what's right for you. Do you know what I mean? Have you got the time? Are you able to do all the steps of filling it all in? Do you know what I mean? But you know, if you're having problems with that, then talk to the contact the legal, the department at Direct Gov around lasting power of attorney to get some advice, and also pursue a complaint with that bank, because they shouldn't be blocking you. You should be able to fill it in, and they take the number of the assigned case, which you get like a unique number for your lasting power of attorney, and then once they've got that, then it all falls into place. Do you know what I mean? So I mean, I find it surprising because maybe I'm lucky, but my mum's bank were so helpful and so prompt. Yeah.
That was such an insightful answer. Thank you so much. On behalf of Betty Box and everybody joining us online this morning, would like to say thank you so much, Tony, for joining us today. So before we wrap up, I would like to ask, do you have any general words for carers that you'd just like to share?
What I would say is look after yourself and don't feel guilty about looking after yourself. I know it's easier said than done, but there are support mechanisms out there or support facilities for you to be able to do that. And, you can't go on forever. You can't, you know what I mean? You need emotional emotional and mental respite, and you need, you know, you need time for yourself so that you can recharge your batteries, recoup, and then carry on with the caring role, because your health is as important as the health of the person you care for.
I believe that every carer on this call has learned a thing or two that he or she is going to definitely put into use by the time we are done with this Instagram live session. So once again, thank you so much, Tony, for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure having you here with us today, this morning. Thank you so much, and we hope to see more of you as time goes on. Sooner or later, I would like to invite you again to our Instagram live session to have another caregivers chat. Thank you, and thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Take care, everyone.
And you too.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.